So, hello there, everyone, and welcome to STW Sports and its Championship Matchday 2 review with host Samuel Wright and Birmingham City fan Jordan Evans. A very happy Jordan, I imagine, after Birmingham's result of the weekend. But yeah, I must admit, I've got to say it's exciting, to be honest. The fact that the Championship's 2 games in now, we're seeing some promising signs, of course, from a lot of teams, and some teams maybe not going so well, but. Before we do begin, Jordan, what was your assessment of match day 2? There's some really high-scoring games.
I think it's just brought the epitome of the championship. I mean, like there's some results that we didn't expect, but it's a very even championship. Obviously, this season, obviously, like you say, there's a lot of high-scoring games, a few unexpected results, but it's just, I think it's going to be a great season. It started off fantastic, so it's only going to go one way, mate, and that's all.
Absolutely. So we're going to get straight into it anyway, Jordan. We're going to start with the first game, which was Saturday afternoon, Coventry City versus Middlesbrough. 2 teams who are familiar with each other after the playoff semi-finals last season. Coventry came out on top in that one, and they did again on this occasion, but maybe a lot more easily than what people expected, though. You had a 2-1 win for Coventry. I had a 2-0 win for Coventry. It ended 3-0 to Coventry, and I watched quite a lot of this game, and Coventry were very good, to be fair, and I think that, again, a lot of people may be expecting a little bit of a drop-off from them this season, but I thought Coventry were absolutely brilliant in this game. Middlesbrough looked really poor, to be fair, but Coventry, excellent, and what a win.
Yeah, great win. I mean, obviously, they was very unlucky against Leicester. Like I said, it was there was fantastic in the week before. I don't think they did deserve to lose the game itself, but I think I've got my predictions wrong in the table of having Coventry and Middlesbrough in the wrong way around at the minute, the way that Coventry are going on. But of course, it's going to take a little bit of time. Obviously, Middlesbrough have lost a couple of players. And they're just bringing, just brought a load in. They were unbelievable last season, but they ain't got off to the greatest of starts. They're typically known for that. I think they'll be okay, but Coventry again, they put away those rude chances against Leicester, against obviously Middlesbrough on the weekend, and 3-0, fantastic result. But yeah, I think there's more to come from both teams. I think Coventry haven't hit their peak yet, and obviously, Girikes's goals are going to be. They don't look like they're missing them, obviously, judging by Saturday. But if they can replace his goals, they're going to be well up there this season. But more to come from Middlesbrough, I think, mate. Definitely.
Yeah, it's early doors. Middlesbrough currently sit bottom of the table, I believe, as well. But it is very early doors. It's important to remember. And I do think that Middlesbrough are notoriously bad starters. But obviously, the question is how far behind can they really afford to fall if they want to get them automatic promotion places? But great result for Coventry, though, as you say. I think they were really good. I do think that they often do make the Rico Arena a very tough place to go for teams, don't they? And I think that that's what we're going to have to do this season. Great win for them. Moving on next to Hull City versus Sheffield Wednesday. I had 0-0 in this game, which is just typical that it was one of the most entertaining of the weekend. You had a 2-0 win for Hull, Jordan. It was 4-2 to Hull in the end. A hat-trick for Tufan, a very good hat-trick from him. Hull, very good. They went 1-0 down in the game, but great response from Hull. A 4-2 win, and yeah, simple as that, really. I think a lot of people are really discounting Sheffield Wednesday right now, especially with the start they've had and the manner they've played in their games. It is still early days, but it's looking pretty difficult for Sheffield Wednesday right now. But as for Hull, a really good opening day result, to be fair. 4-2, good performance and a hat-trick for Tufan.
Yeah, good hat-trick as well, like you say, Sam. But like you say, Sheffield Wednesday, a lot of people have got them to go down. But I think obviously the transition from Darren Moore to Isco now is going to be it's not going to be as smooth as a sail. It's going to take some time to build on. Over the next few months or so, but Sheffield Wednesday's owners don't seem very forgiving looking at what they did to Darren Moore, and a few more of them results against like fellow strugglers and bottom half teams like Hull, where we sort of anticipate them to be. Then his days could be numbered. Obviously, it's not an easy game. This football, obviously, for few, it's a results business at the end of the day. But credit to Hull, obviously they've bounced back well from a very disappointing last minute loser to Norwich the week before. Sheffield Wednesday, obviously, they did give up a little bit of a fight. They'll be encouraged that they scored 2, but they've conceded 6 now in 2 games, which isn't great telling, obviously. So they need to pick up the points quite fast, even this early in the season. They do need to pick up the points quite fast. But yeah, great result in the whole for Hull. I think a few people did have a home result for them. I think they played some good stuff against Norwich, and obviously they played some great stuff at the weekend, mate. But yeah, good result for Hull. Need to pick up the points for Sheffield.
Absolutely. Next up, we move on to Rotherham versus Blackburn Rovers at the New York Stadium. John, you had a 1-1 draw in this game. I had a 2-1 win for Blackburn. It actually ended 2-2. Rotherham were 2-0 up, and I do stress the fact Rotherham are a completely different team at the New York Stadium to what they are on the road. And where they really did well in staying up last season was picking up then home results. But fair play to Blackburn, though, and Rotherham obviously did have a red card in this game just after half-time, which completely changed the game, to be honest. I think that to be 2-0 up, but then you're hanging on then for a long time. And it was actually a quick double from Schmodix, of course, for Blackburn. A 2-2 draw. I think that Rotherham were disappointed in the fact they were 2-0 up, but also at the same time, Blackburn, once they got back to 2-2, they had time to go on and score a winner, and they didn't take it in the end. But I think a point's not too bad for either team, but I guess Blackburn want to be competing at the top. But if you're Rotherham, you need to make the most of your home games.
Yeah, I think Rotherham will be disappointed. Like you say, Sam, I think the red card did change things because Rotherham were looking very strong up into that point. Blackburn will be very disappointed, of course, to if they've got any ambitions to get in them top sixes, they're the results that they need. They need to be getting, 3 points against these types of teams, but still maintaining their unbeaten start, obviously beating the Baggies first game of the season. But yeah, I think overall, obviously a point and reflection, like you say, Blackburn could have gone on and won it, but it was a tale of two halves. Like if that old football saying, obviously Rotherham looked home and dry in the first half, and obviously Blackburn could have gone on and won it in the end, which would have been very harsh on Rotherham, obviously from how good they started. But that's a point, and like you say, it's a point on the board for both teams. Obviously, every point for Rotherham in particular this season's going to be crucial because they're going to be, looking at their squads in and around them. I think they've got one of the thinnest and one of the weakest compared to the others. So I think a point at home to Blackburn, if you didn't see what had happened before the game, you'd have took it. If you're a Rotherham from, you'd have took it all day because obviously Blackburn are a strong outfit. We've seen it time and time again. They always got off to a really good start. So yeah, I think both teams will take some positives from it. Obviously, Rotherham will be more disappointed out the two. I think Rotherham will be Blackburn will be happy that they got the point in the end, and yeah, they both move on to the next game now.
Absolutely. Next up, we have a game which was a lot less entertaining than what I thought it would be, looking at the highlights. Huddersfield Town versus Leicester City. Jordan, we both went for convincing Leicester wins here. You went for 4-1, I went for 3-0. I think that we kind of had this thing of Leicester. They obviously got the result against Coventry on the opening day, had to come from behind to do so. I thought it would be a bit of a hiding this for Huddersfield. But to be fair, they played all right. I think they defended quite well. I think it was a really poor game from what I've heard and what I've seen on the highlights. A 1-0 win for Leicester, though, it is 6 points out of a possible 6. You can't really argue with that. A goal from Mavadidi, I believe that's his first for the club as well. Yeah, it's a result for Leicester. That's all you can really say about this. It weren't the best performance, but away from home in the Championship, you take results anywhere. And I think Leicester have got to be positive. They got the 3 points.
Yeah, I think similar situation to kind of Middlesbrough. They've got off to the performances. Obviously, they're a bit different to Middlesbrough in the sense that their performances aren't where they need to be, but they're getting the results, and that's what championship winners do. Is they obviously grind out results where they can. Huddersfield, of course, was going to put 11 people behind the ball and try and see out a draw and hit them on the counter attack. And I think the resilience did pay off up until about it was late in the 70th odd minute when they got the goal. But Leicester, I don't think of course, obviously, again, I'll say the same thing. New manager coming into play. Obviously, they do like to play, obviously, possession-based football. We've seen it with Brendan Rodgers over the years. So, they are used to that kind of style. But obviously, the new manager obviously in the Man City assistants, obviously got him as well. So it's going to take time for them to where their performances are, and that's the scary thing I think about Leicester is they've got all the talent in that squad. They're just not, they're not blowing teams away yet. But I think once they start clicking and they get back to the Leicester of old 2-3 years ago, they'll start blowing people away in the Championship. But I think Neil Warnock said he actually enjoyed the game because I think it was a typical Neil Warnock performance, trying to get the long ball up to the big man up top and see out the game and get a point and nick one on the break. And, very nearly did get to that. Obviously, 10-15 minutes left in the game and Leicester pop up. But that's what the real championship winners do, is they play badly or, they're frustrated by teams. And they will break through because of the quality they've got. But yeah, overall, obviously, Leicester will be happy to get the job done. But there's loads more to come from Leicester. And Huddersfield, I think, can take a lot of positives from, that result. Yes, they're without a point on the board, but performances like that against a lesser team than Leicester, they'll get some points on the board.
Definitely agree. So from a game that wasn't the most entertaining to probably one of the games of the season in the Championship come the end of the season, Southampton versus Norwich City. Now, John, you went for a 3-1 win for Southampton. I went for a 2-1 win for Southampton. I don't think anyone going to the weekend would have had them to draw 4-4. So a very, very good game. And a lot of credit has to go to Norwich here. I mean, obviously, before the season, they still might have a bad season, but they've shown a lot of encouraging signs early on in the season. This was a fantastic game of football, I must admit. I mean, with Southampton as well, things have changed a little bit now. Ward-Prowse is leaving, or he's left. Obviously, you've got Adams, who might be leaving up front as well. So looking at the lineup against Sheffield Wednesday on the opening day, stuff seems to have changed since then. But, I mean, what a game this was, though. Absolutely Championship at its absolute best. An incredible game, a 97th minute penalty equaliser. Just an amazing game of football, which both teams more than played their part in. And come the end of the season, this has got to be one of the games of the season already.
Yeah. I think I actually said in the pre-match build-up last week, I actually said that in the Premiership it's a boring game, but in the Championship it's a very exciting game, and it turned out to be obviously just that. Obviously, 8 goals in a match in any league's fantastic, but it's just an advocate of how competitive this Championship's going to be this season. Obviously, like we say, I think a lot of people aren't expecting Norwich to be usually in these usually top of the league, top 2 spaces when they're in the Championship, but because of the levels of quality that's in there now, we probably don't think it's going to be that way. It's going to be more like last season where it's mid-table onwards. But at the end of the day, they've still got 4 points from 6, and that's a great turnout. But what a game, obviously, to be involved in and be a part of. Completely, got a little bit of different views, not just because of that result, obviously, but they lost 3-1 in the Southampton. Sorry, they lost 3-1 in the League Cup, which was a really disappointing result considering they had some still top quality players out there. We've gone from obviously saying those look like the best Championship squad to no James Ward-Prowse. That's going to be huge. Look how influential he's been in Southampton over the years with his dead ball specialist. He's fantastic. He's a leader on the pitch. So they're going to struggle to replace him. And I think if he would have stayed in the Championship with Southampton, we would have been talking to probably one of the best players that's in there. But obviously he's got his move now to West Ham. Southampton will be chuffed with a point, obviously, because I know there was down a couple of times, obviously, in the game. So they'll be chuffed with the point, but they've got to, let that good start to the season that they had on the first day replace James Ward-Prowse, and they'll be, right up there. And Norwich, I think, obviously, they typically get off to a good start as well. So great result, but great game for the neutrals involved in it, mate, definitely.
Absolutely fantastic. And next up, we move on to a game where we didn't really see this result coming, Jordan, according to our predictions, because you had a 2-1 Swansea win at West Brom and I had a 1-0 Swansea win at West Brom. It actually ended 3-2. And to be fair to West Brom, they were 3-0 up in this game as well. So they were flying. But then again, they nearly let that 3-goal lead slip. And, Swansea's second goal did come in the 80th minute. So they had time to go on and get an equaliser. Really good result, though, for West Brom. We mentioned about the turmoil around the club at the moment. To be fair, the atmosphere there looked pretty good at the Hawthorns, and I think it could be a difficult season for West Brom, and I still think it will be. I don't think this result changes it, but I think that this was an encouraging performance from them, especially some of the football they played at times. And it's a good result in the end, it's got to be said. And another quite entertaining game, 5 goals in the game. And Swansea, obviously, a very good footballing side, but they're still adapting to a new manager as well. So obviously, but I thought this was a good game overall.
Yeah, great game. Obviously, another high-scoring game in the Championship, and it's what it's all about. And there's never a comfortable game. There's not many comfortable games in this league in particular, and that's why it's so hard. That's why both me and you was wrong in the predictions, because it's so hard to predict. I mean, you're looking at a Swansea team that play some great football, and at times they look like Barcelona last season, and you're looking at a West Brom team that got a little bit of doom and gloom around the club at the moment, but they didn't let that show, obviously, on Saturday, up until the Swansea goal went in. Another 5-10 minutes, then it could have been a different story, but West Brom will be glad that they've seen that game out. This is disappointing for Swansea, because watching them against us the week before, they look so compact, so resolute, and obviously their style of play is fantastic. It always has been, and no one probably seen them leaking 3 goals to a West Brom side that have only signed a couple of players. They've lost a few players as well, but you've got to remember they've got a fantastic manager in Carlos Corban that's gonna get these results. He's going to get a few good results and stuff. But I'm still with yourself, Sam, that I think they'll be, you know, not potentially like a playoff contender. They'll be like more sort of mid-table-ish, of course. But yeah, West Brom didn't play bad against Blackburn the week before as well. But a great result for them. The Swans, I think, need to bounce back quickly because yeah, they'll see that as a they'll see that as a bad result, especially those first 60, 70 minutes, definitely until they scored. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Well, next up, we move on to a game which I think is actually quite an unexpected result. In our predictions in Watford versus Plymouth, you had 1-0 Plymouth, I had 1-0 Watford. It was actually 0-0, so we should have sat on the fence and said 0-0. But not the best game, but with the start that both teams had. I mean, Watford hammering QPR 4-0, and then obviously Plymouth beating Huddersfield 3-1. Both teams would have gone into this game full of confidence. It's got to be said, a 0-0 draw is probably a much better result for Plymouth. Yeah, I think if you offered a Plymouth fan, you go to Watford, a team who were a Premier League team just over a year ago, and get a goalless draw, they'd 100% have taken that. And it's got to be said, full credit to Plymouth, really, for this result. And I think that didn't look the most entertaining game, but I think, yeah, Plymouth will surely be the happier at the two teams.
Yeah, they will definitely. Obviously, coming up from League One, they've been out of the Championship for, years. And of course, we've mentioned many times that obviously their home form is going to be vital for this season. But if they can get points on the board against your Watfords, that are like one of the strongest teams in the league, then you're coming away full confidence, clean sheet as well, away from home. Could have potentially nicked it, but it's a great result, and that's just a typical Watford performance. They've just come off the back of smashing QPR 4-0, and you expect them to follow it up again. And looking at some like a Plymouth, for example, that have just come up, you're expecting them to kind of wipe the floor with them. That's why I sort of went for a Plymouth result, is because that's what Watford was like last season. Is you just couldn't predict where they was going to finish, what kind of result they was going to get from one week to the other. But yeah, I think away from home for Plymouth, they'll be over the moon with that. It gives them a good platform. They have 4 points from 6. Obviously beating Huddersfield on the first game of the season 3-1. 4 points from 6 already. They're looking, like a good established Championship team, and they're just going to need a few more of that now going forward. And they'll be absolutely fine. And for Watford, obviously, if they've got any ambition, sorry, I should say, to go up into the top 2, top 6, they've got to be putting teams like that away. But it's still early in the season. They've got 44 plus games to go, so you never know. You never know with them.
Yeah, 100%. I think this is a much better result for Plymouth, but both teams had a great start. So they're still both on 4 points, which is a very good start, especially for Plymouth. And they've got a massive game this weekend, which we'll touch on very soon. But next up, John, it was Preston North End versus Sunderland. I mentioned in the preview that last season, Sunderland winning this fixture got them into the playoffs. Well, not really going their way this season so far, because they lost this game by 2-1. Very good result for Preston, it must be said, I think. And Preston, this finally be the season where they push up a little bit? I'm not going to get carried away, but this is a very good result for them. You had 0-0 in this game, John. I had a 1-1 draw. I feel like this game had draw written all over it, to be fair. So I was really surprised there was a winner. But credit to Preston, good result for them, 2-1 win. As for Sunderland, not been a very good start to the season. And this sounds kind of crazy, but I'm already hearing there could be a bit of pressure on Tony Mowbray, which I think is extremely harsh. But that is the cruel world of football.
Yeah, it is, Sam, and there'll be many clubs like that this season. I mean, it's gonna it's so even this Championship that these results are going to come, and the owners, of course, we know how ambitious the Sunderland owners are. They're a huge club that has been in League One. They've finally got out of that, and of course, finishing top 6 like a team like Sunderland, they're going to have ambitions now to go and push on again and get top 6, and if not top 2. So it is surprising, obviously, from what the job that Tony Mowbray's done last season with Sunderland, but it's not surprising in the football world, because it's a results business, and obviously losing against Ipswich, losing against Preston, 2 games on the bounce, 2-1s, it's going to pile on a little bit of pressure and a little bit of anxiety, because we know how passionate them fans are up north. It's their whole world. So, when results don't start going their way, then they are going to take action fast. But it's a result that I'm not surprised by, because obviously we did predict a draw, but I'm not surprised by, because Preston are a good footballing team, and on the day they can beat any one of them Championship teams. Got a good point on the first week of the season against Bristol as well, away from home, and they're they're going to be looking to push on themselves, and they feel like they've been in the Championship since they've been established. To be honest with you, I mean they have been since I've been involved in football. So it would be nice to see them actually try and do something and try and get up to these top six ladder. But there's going to, you know, we say it season on season. There's at least 10 to 12 clubs aiming for them top six, top two positions. This season it's going to be more like 14, 15, 16 clubs that all think they've got a chance to go in there, and you know, beating Sunderland's going to give them the utmost confidence to go on and get more results like that. But good performance and good result for good performance and good result. But again, Sunderland need to get some points on the board for Tony Mowbray's sake and Sunderland's sake as well.
I agree. I think a lot's changed at Sunderland. Obviously, this time last year, they were the Championship new boys, weren't they? They had all this momentum about them. They had all this good feeling. They're finally out of League One. But I feel like not going up last season, obviously, they got back-to-back promotions, would have been incredible. But I think that, you know, maybe at the moment they're going for a bit of a bad start. But there's plenty of time to turn it around, of course. We're only 2 games into the season, so a lot can obviously change in the meantime. But next up, we're going to move on to another team who are thriving as the Championship new boys, Ipswich Town. Amazing 2-0 win against Stoke. 2 teams who were tipped to do very well this season. You had 3-2 to Ipswich, Jordan. I had 4-2 to Ipswich in this game. So we both expected goals. Not many goals, just the 2, and both coming for Ipswich. But it's got to be said right now, Ipswich are playing with so much confidence. And to beat Sunderland and Stoke in your opening 2 games, fantastic for Ipswich, really, isn't it? And they're, you know, I know it's early days, but I'm very confident about their season, to be fair. Fantastic result again.
Yeah, I think out of the 3 of the teams that have come up, I definitely think that Ipswich was going to be, if they had the potential to go into a Sunderland, or better still go straight, or I think Ipswich was definitely going to be the ones. Obviously, Portman Roads had years and years of no Championship football. You know, it was 15 years ago they was in the UEFA Cup, so they're going to be wanting to be ambitious and go up. And you know, they've had a long suffering time in being in the League One when they're too big for that league. Obviously, we've got some big clubs down there, but I think Ipswich has always been too big to be in that league, and rightly so. They're going for it against the Stoke side that many have got as dark horses for right reasons, because obviously the result they had the first game of the season, obviously they've made a lot of good signings. You've got Alex Neil in charge as well, who's a great manager. So it's a great result for Ipswich overhaul. And obviously, you know, imagine, obviously I didn't see if they did, but I imagine it was a packed out Portman Road, obviously because of how long they ain't been in the Championship. But they're going into this league, which you should do with absolutely no fear. It's anybody's league. It's anybody's, you know, top 6. So they've got a great opportunity to replicate that form and the way that there was destroying teams in League One, and do it in the Championship. And they're doing that so far. You know, to go to the Stadium Light and get a 2-1 result is massive, but then to follow it up and beat, you know, a Stoke team that's been in the Premier League for many years and got a great Championship squad there, is just going to give them the whole world of confidence. And I think your prediction, Sam, for them to be in the playoffs looking more realistic by the week. Yes, obviously it's only early, and you know they've got a little bit of a thinner squad than compared to most, but I think they're going to have no fear this season, and they're going to upset a few teams, and rightly so.
Yeah, I'm a really big fan of McKenna as well, me. I have been since he walked through the door at Ipswich. I think the job that he's done has been fantastic. And I just think there's a real good feel-good factor about Ipswich at the moment. And even Stoke, I still think Stoke will have a good season. But I think Stoke will be more reliant on their home form, which they always typically have been over the years anyway. Stoke have always been a much better team at home than they have been away. So I'm expecting that this season as well. And next up, we move on to the 2 strugglers, I guess people have been calling them, Cardiff City and Queen's Park Rangers. We both went for Cardiff wins here. We both went 2-0 to Cardiff here, Jordan. That looked like the obvious bet before the game. Cardiff got a point at Leeds on the opening day, a very good point as well. I know they conceded a last-minute equaliser, but it was still a good result, really. And QPR, terrible opening day performance at Watford, 4-0 down at half-time. It was looking all doom and gloom. But to be fair to QPR, fantastic character shown, and they get a 2-1 win at Cardiff. And it's not really a result I saw coming. I was actually very surprised when I saw this result. And fair play to QPR. I think Gareth Ainsworth were very happy with the character his side shown. And but as for Cardiff, an alarming defeat, it's got to be said.
Yeah, definitely. I think obviously looking at it, like you say, so I think that's probably one of the surprises of the weekend, because, you know, Cardiff, yes, we've got them kind of, a lot of people have got them to finish down the sort of bottom ends, but when they had that result against Leeds, yes, okay, obviously they was 2-0 up and threw it away, but they still got a point at Ellen Road, and that's, big in itself. Any club that goes there and does that, obviously they've just come down from the Premier League, then they're obviously a good team. But QPR have took that much of a dropping against Watford. They'd have seen the reaction from the fans, and they're going to want to prove the doubters wrong. And obviously, a result away to Cardiff is the best way of doing that. And rightly so, they've gone and fought for the shirt. Obviously, chuff for Gareth Ainsworth because I do like him. I think he's a good manager, good footballing person as well. And I'm chuffed for him to get the 3 points and get them rolling, because them QPR board and chairman and whatnot, they're not the most forgiving. So a few more bad results, like I said, I think last week, he could have been potentially gone in the next sort of 6 to 8 weeks or so. But results like that are going to help. Obviously, 3 points now on the board for them. Disappointing for Cardiff, though. Obviously, they would have took a lot out of them that game, obviously, against Leeds, going up, the emotions behind it, conceding in the last minute. It can take a lot out of them, but they've now got to do what QPR's done and bounce back in the next game and pick out a result, because they could be just as in trouble, if not worse, as what we think QPR will be.
Absolutely. Well, next game, a bit of a shock in my opinion. It was Millwall versus Bristol City. Not for you, you had a 2-0 win for Bristol City in this game. I had a 2-0 win for Millwall. I just thought with Millwall's result on the opening day against Middlesbrough, a 1-0 away win, they'd go into this game flying. The Den is usually a fortress as well for Millwall. They get so many wins there. To be fair to Bristol City, though, this could finally be the season where it does click for them a little bit more. A lot of optimism from Bristol City fans for the first time in a long time. Another team who could be strong. It's got to be said, a first getaway game of the season and a win at Millwall, a 94th minute goal. I guess that can be described as a perfect away day, Jordan.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? I mean, you're in some scenes there if you're in that away end, and you get to see that. It's one of the best feelings as a fan, isn't it? So, I credit to them, and I bet they enjoyed it, and fair play to them. But it's a result that I've seen coming because of Gary Rowett, and I've mentioned it before. Obviously, he was at us for a couple of seasons, and it was always one of them typical performances where he'd come off the back of beating somebody as strong as Middlesbrough. But because he would have had to play a little bit more on the front foot, he finds it harder to break down teams. And obviously that was the case with Bristol. They huff and puff, and the chances don't go in, and you end up conceding at the other end. And we've seen it at Birmingham City many a times. And that's why I think that although it'd be great for Millwall, because they've huffed and puffed on that playoff door for a number of seasons, that's why I think they always fall short, because they don't pick up these kind of results. Where Bristol City, of course, look a lot better than they have been. They've cemented championship team, but if you're serious about getting in that top 6 places, your home fixtures are your priority. So I think they've got to try and address that sooner rather than later if they have got any sort of premiership ambitions. But all credit to Nigel Pearson. Something seems to be going right for him down there. Obviously getting a draw on the first game of the season against Preston and a win against Millwall on the weekends and a last-minute winner. They're going to be flying of confidence, and probably not one of the best times for us to be playing them on Saturday. But I think great result for them overall, and yeah, good game, mate.
Yeah, so we're going to end on a positive note for you, Jordan. Well, not end, but end the reviews of the match day 2 on a positive note. Still got the predictions to do for match day 3 yet. Birmingham City 1, Leeds United 0. What a result for Birmingham. A 90th minute penalty. I mentioned about, the best away day scoring in the last minute. It's not too bad at home even when you win the game late. You had 2-1 to Birmingham in this game, Jordan. You were very confident last week on the preview show. I had a 1-1 draw. It was looking like it was going to end 0-0, but a last-minute penalty for Birmingham got the win. Jordan, you were obviously there yourself, so you can tell us, how the experience was. But to beat a Leeds team who've just come down from the Premier League, been in the Premier League a few years themselves as well, I can only imagine that the confidence is going to give Birmingham 4 points out of a possible 6. Yes, Birmingham do usually start well, but something does feel different this year. I don't know if you agree. There seems to be a confidence with Birmingham that's just there this year.
Yeah, I think the good thing with us this season, Sam, is we've always got off to a great start, but this time like you say, it feels completely different. We've got a lot of players now on permanence rather than loans. We've just been took over by financially fantastic businessmen in the Americans. Obviously, Tom Brady being a face of Birmingham City as well, and there's just a different atmosphere in the club. Everything's like changing. He's making improvements everywhere, every aspect of the club, and the atmosphere was something I haven't seen for about 10 years. The ground was full. Obviously, we've got the rest of it to finish start of November. But the ground was full 20 minutes, half an hour before the game, songs. It was just a great atmosphere. And of course, a touching tribute to Trevor Francis, where we did like a 2-minute silence. And fair play to the Leeds fans as well for getting involved in that as well, for a legend of Trevor Francis' statue. But the game itself was very underwhelming. I think a lot of us, a lot of us expected us to be at the blocks, chasing down tackles and stuff, but it was definitely weren't that. I think both teams, I think Leeds was a little bit more reserved because they thought that we would do that. We was a bit reserved and maybe paid Leeds a little bit of respect in the first half or so. But as the game wore on, obviously we had the better of the chances. Dan James was a threat, down that left-hand side, but Ethan Laird did deal with him accordingly. But Leeds didn't have many. I don't remember one clear-cut chance from Leeds, and I think they have got a lot of players out, obviously, but they've still got a strong team to go and win that league. Top two places most certainly, and I think it was just written for us to win that game. And even at 80 minutes, 85 minutes, I still thought there'd be a goal. I don't know if you've seen the penalty, Sam, but it was a naff penalty down the middle and the keeper come off his leg. And any other season for Birmingham City, that hits the bar and goes over. But there's just a different feel. There's a little bit more luck for us at the moment. And once we went 1-0 up, 7 minutes or so added on, I couldn't see us conceding. But I'm over the moon with the result. Yeah, okay, I was very confident we'd win the game 2-1, but it's still Leeds United at the end of the day. They've been in the Premiership for 2 seasons and they've got a great squad. But fantastic, and I think Leeds will feel a bit aggrieved. Obviously, they're 1 point from 2 games in the Championship, ain't got off to the greatest start for Daniel Farke and the staff there. But it's going to take some time for Leeds. Obviously, like I said, they've got a lot of injuries at the minute. They've got players that don't want to play in Ganato as well. So they've got a lot to address over the next few weeks before the transfer window closes. But I still think they'll be a strong team this season, mate, definitely.
Absolutely, Jordan. Well, it's prediction time for Matchday 3, which will be played over the weekend. We start on Friday night with Leeds v West Brom, and we end on Sunday afternoon with Norwich versus Millwall. Some very good games again this weekend, as there is every weekend in the Championship. I agree with Jordan. I think this is the most exciting Championship I've seen for a very long time, and I'm not just saying that. I generally do think that the stature of the clubs in there, some of the teams who've come up from League One, the teams who've come down from the Premier League, it's very, very exciting this season. So let's get on with it without further ado, Jordan. Leeds United versus West Bromwich Albion. Who are you going for?
I'm going to go with Leeds for this one because, again, Ellen Road's going to sell out like it always will do. I think it's going to be... I think the Baggies are still going to get a goal in, but I'm going to go with 2-1 Leeds to kick the season off. I think Baggies obviously got a great result against Swansea. Leeds are looking to kickstart their season, but I think Leeds on Friday night, I think this will be the result for them that will elevate their season, hopefully. So, yeah, 2-1 Leeds. I'm going with that one, mate.
I'm going to go 1-1. I feel like Leeds haven't got any confidence right now. A last-minute equaliser against a Cardiff team in a bit of disarray. A 1-0 loss to Birmingham. I just feel like Leeds' season, I do think it's going to take I think it's going to be a bit of a slow burner. Whether that means the manager will get time if it's a slow burner is a different question. But, there's not many happy Leeds fans right now, I think, with the start and stuff like that. But I just feel that's going to creep in this game. I don't think Leeds will lose because it's at Ellen Road, but I don't think it's going to be a great game, and I'm going to say a 1-1 draw. I think it might be a late West Brom equaliser maybe to snatch away from Leeds their first win of the season. I'm going to go 1-1 draw, sit on the fence a bit. Next up, a game that I really cannot wait for on Saturday, Plymouth Argyle versus Southampton. If you'd have told a Plymouth fan a few seasons ago this would be a league fixture, I think they'd have been in dreamland. So what an amazing time this is to be a Plymouth fan, of course. They host Southampton at Home Park. I can't wait for this one, Jordan. What's your prediction here?
Yeah, it's a really tough one. Obviously, both teams are coming off the back of some good results, so I think this is one of the more difficult ones. But I'm going to go for a little bit of a surprise in it, and I'm going to go another 2-1, but to Plymouth. I think, obviously, Home Park, I think their ground's going to be rocking. Southampton might be getting over the loss a little bit of James Ward-Prowse. They have shown they've got some fragilities in that defence, and I just think that with the crowd behind them, I think that obviously, like you say, it's a fixture they wouldn't have seen coming for some time now. I think the last time was when they was both in League One years ago, and I think Plymouth will just their fans have they're living for these kind of teams. They're these teams that they're going to be up for, and everyone's going to raise their game against Southampton because they're going to be one of the teams to beat. So I see a surprise in there. I think Southampton will have a lot of possession, but I can see a sneaky 2-1 Plymouth win.
Yeah, well, I'm going to go for the maybe a bit of a safe bet, 1-0 Southampton. I do agree with you. I do think Plymouth are going to play really well on the day, but I just think Southampton are going to have that little bit too much quality. So I'm going to go 1-0 Southampton. I think it'll be a late smash and grab goal maybe, but I do think the atmosphere is going to be fantastic. But I just think Southampton, despite, yes, they have lost a few players recently, confidence might not be as high. I just tip them to just edge this 1-0, but I do think Plymouth are going to put up a good fight.
Yeah.
So, next up, Blackburn Rovers versus Hull City. Two teams who've had all right starts to the season, to be fair to them. I think they're both, well, and Hull are on 3 points, Blackburn on 4. It's at Ewood Park, of course, but Hull coming into this game with confidence after their 4-2 win against Sheffield Wednesday. Blackburn came from 2-0 down to get a point at Rotherham as well, so they're quite confident going into this. What are you going for here, Jordan?
Tight game. I think they're going to right their wrongs, Blackburn, and be a little bit tighter in the first half because of Hull coming off the back. Hull coming off the back of scoring 4 goals and obviously conceding 2 goals to Rotherham. So they're going to be able to shut up shop a little bit, I think. So I'm going to go with a 1-0 Blackburn win on Saturday.
I'm going to go for an entertaining one. I'm going 3-2 to Blackburn. I just got a feeling this game's going to have quite a lot of goals in. I think both teams are scoring. Well, Hull scored 4 last week, and I think Blackburn obviously have scored 4 in their 2 games so far this season, 2 in each. So I'm going to go 3-2 Blackburn. Entertaining game for me, and I'm going to go for a home win in this one. Next up, we have 2 teams who are still without a point in the Championship this season. Middlesbrough versus Huddersfield at Middlesbrough. All evidence will point to a Middlesbrough win, but both teams, as I said, have not made a good start. So what are you going for here, Jordan?
Yeah, I think they've obviously Middlesbrough have gone off to a slow start. Huddersfield have also, obviously, we anticipated with their 2 games. Obviously, I think we anticipated that, but I think Middlesbrough are going to pick it up now, and I'm going to go for a 3-1 convincing win, and 3-1. I'm going to go with for Middlesbrough.
We're going to go 1-0 Middlesbrough. I think it's going to be a poor game. I think for the fact both teams are out of form, no confidence going into the season. I don't think it's going to be convincing, but I do think the Middlesbrough will edge it. And any win at this stage of the season when you haven't got a point on the board yet is brilliant. So I do think Middlesbrough will just slightly edge this game. I'm going to go 1-0 to Middlesbrough, and that will be perfect for Michael Carrick to get the first points on the board for the Borough. Next up, Swansea City versus Coventry. This is a very exciting game, in my opinion. Obviously, Swansea, they did lose last week. They've only got 1 point so far, Swansea. Coventry are on 3, of course. But this one, for me, is quite an exciting game, especially with it being at Swansea. Jordan, who are you going for here?
2-2. I think that both teams are quite similar in how they play on the front foot. Attacking wise, they're brilliant, but sometimes they're a bit ruin of chances. But it's either going to be 0-0. It's going to be either really low scoring, or it's going to be like an entertaining end-to-end 2-2 result. But I think again, Swansea may, it's really tough to predict this one. I think this is the toughest one actually to predict because Coventry look like they're on fire at the minute. Obviously, they're beating Middlesbrough 3-0. Good result, a good performance, should say, against Leicester. And Swansea are going to be looking to bounce back against a disappointing result in West Brom. But I think that, I can see a score draw 2-2. I'm going to go with for that one.
Yeah, I'm actually going to go 2-1 to Coventry. I think this is going to be a really exciting game. I think Coventry might win it quite late. I feel like, it's going to be quite end-to-end, as you say, a lot of chances, but I think Coventry have just got it right now. I think that they'll take a lot from that win against Middlesbrough, and they even played quite well away at Leicester, so I do think they've got a lot of confidence right now. So, go for an edgy Coventry win, 2-1 in this game. Sheffield Wednesday versus Preston North End. A game that, to be honest, Wednesday, it's a home game against a team like Preston, who are usually mid-table. Preston made a good start, 4 points out of a possible 6. This one's exciting.
Yeah, it is. And this is where I think the new manager could really do with a result against a Preston team that, of course, have been mid-table for a long time. But at home, obviously at Hillsborough, I think the fans obviously are going to be up for it again. But they could get on their back a little bit if things ain't going their way again. But I think that Wednesday are going to kickstart it this season and they're going to pull a result off. So I'm going to go 2-0 Wednesday.
Oh, I'm gonna go 1-1. I'm gonna sit on the fence. I do think Wednesday will pick up their first point of the season, but I just think Preston are that sort of team who, after getting a good result against Sunderland, I can just see them maybe not following up on that and getting another win. I'm going to go 1-1. I think it'll be quite a good game, and I think Hillsborough's going to be a tough place to go for many teams this season. But yeah, I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw in this one. Next up, Sunderland versus Rotherham. Two teams who are in need of the points. Rotherham only have one on the board so far, Sunderland 0. A game at the Stadium of Light. Rotherham, as I mentioned, they're not usually great on the road in the Championship. So which one are you going for here?
This is like one of my outsider bets that I'm going to go for this week, and I'm going to go for more misery on Sunderland. I'm going to go for 2-1 Rotherham. I think that the Stadium of Light now there's going to be a little bit of an atmosphere even this early in the season. Because their expectations are so high, I think that it's going to be a frustrating game, and I think it's going to be similar to what Rotherham did to Blackburn. They're going to go 2-0 up, and Sunderland are going to score but not have enough. It's exactly what they did against Ipswich. But I just think that the way that it's going at the moment, I don't see it. Sunderland aren't on like a momentum at the moment, and I think Rotherham, although they did concede 2 goals, I think that they ain't got the pressure on them as much, and they'll still know that there'll be a bit of pressure on Sunderland to get the result. So yeah, I'm going to go with a 2-1 Rotherham win.
Well, I mentioned every weekend there's a 0-0. I'm going to go for 0-0 here because I feel like it's not been a good start for Sunderland. I completely agree with you. And I think that Rotherham don't usually do too well on the road, as I've already mentioned. So I just think this game's going to be 0-0. I agree with you. I think the Stadium of Light, for the first time in a long time at Sunderland, the atmosphere is going to be a little bit edgy. I feel like the fans aren't going to be too happy. I think this game's going to be a bit more frustration. I think it's going to be both teams will blow the chances, and I'm going to say 0-0. So, and next up, Jordan, it's your team, Birmingham City, who travel to Bristol City. This is quite an exciting game, especially with the start both teams have had. Both teams are on 4 points, I believe. So 4 points out of a possible 6. And two teams who are usually around the mid-table to relegation mark. But this season could be different.
Yeah, I think both teams look different, don't they? This season, we do usually do well against Bristol. I know we lost last season 4-2, but we do usually do well on the road to Bristol. It's just like one of our grounds that we seem to get a good result. But because of the momentum we're on, and having said that, Bristol have obviously had a good momentum. But I think the momentum we're on at the moment, again, another sellout crowd. As soon as the tickets went on sale for us, I'm gonna sneak it to us to 2-1 again. So I don't mind if it's not 2-1 because it was 1-0 last week. So I don't mind if it's 1-0. But yeah, I'm going to go with 2-1 Blues.
Yeah, this is a really tough one for me. I'm torn on what to have here. Part of me says Bristol City will edge this mainly because of the home team, but I'm actually going to go with a 2-all draw. I feel like this might be quite a bit more of an entertaining game than what people expect, and I feel that'll be one of them where it's kind of just goals galore in the second half, maybe. But yeah, I'm going to go for quite an entertaining 2-2 draw in this one. Next up, a match where, again, there should only really be one winner, but you never know in the Championship. Leicester City versus Cardiff City. All evidence would point, of course, to a Leicester win in this one, but interested to hear what you go for here.
Well, it's an interesting one. This is obviously, if Leicester put the performance and the result, it could be a long day for Cardiff. Cardiff obviously have done well on the road already this year against Leeds, but I just think that Leicester have got too much and they're winning without playing at their full tilt. So I'm going to go. I am going to go for a little bit of a drumming on this one. So I'm going to go with a 4-1 Leicester win.
Yeah, I'm going to go 3-0. So I think that's pretty similar to what we had last week in the Leicester game. But I feel like all the evidence here points to a Leicester win. Cardiff, I know they got a good result at Leeds on the opening day, and they are capable of pulling off a shock result. But I just think Leicester are going to come into this game. It's at the King Power. I think they'll just put them away quite easily, 3-0, quite comfortable. Next up, Queen's Park Rangers versus Ipswich Town. And it's got to be said, Ipswich have a chance to get maximum points in the Championship, 9 points out of a possible 9. What a story that would be for a newly promoted club. I feel like they've got a great chance of doing this at QPR, but what's your prediction, Jordan?
I think they will. I think they'll be. I think they'll be 9 out of 9 come Saturday evening. I think it will be a. I think it will be 3. Obviously, Queen's Park Rangers first game of the season at home as well. But I can see it being a bit of a disappointing one. But I can see an Ipswich doing what they've done to teams, obviously League One last season. I'm going to go with 3-0 Ipswich. Quite a convincing win.
I'm going to go 2-1 Ipswich. I do agree with a win. I feel like it'll be a similar game to the Sunderland one for Ipswich, where they just do enough and get the results. So, yep, I'm going to go for a 2-1 Ipswich win. 9 points out of 9. What a start that would be if it does happen. Next up, a game that I'm also very excited for, Stoke City hosting Watford. Obviously, Watford had a fantastic start, beating QPR 4-0, but then a 0-0 draw. Watford's first game on the road this season. And obviously, as for Stoke, they obviously got moved back to the Bet365 Stadium after their 2-0 loss up at Ipswich. But I'm going to say this is a good game, Jordan. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely. I think Stoke are going to, want to bounce back from the weekends. Watford obviously have started the season off good as well. So, but I think with Stoke this season, I think they're going to be strong at home. Again, they used to be very strong at home, but I think they're going to be strong at home, and I think they're going to have enough to beat Watford on the weekend. I'm going to go with a 2-0 Stoke win, mate.
I'm going to go 2-1. I think Stoke will win. I'd agree with you on that. I think this is a game where I think Stoke's home form is going to be vital this season. I think that's going to be the difference between them being in the bottom half again and pushing towards the playoffs. So I'm going to go 2-1 to Stoke. I do definitely agree with a Stoke win there. Even though Watford have had quite a good start, I'm still tipping Watford to have quite a tricky season, to be honest. Final game. This game's on Sunday at noon. It's Norwich City, who host Millwall. Not been a bad start to the season for Norwich. 4 points out of 6 for them. As for Millwall, they got a win on the opening day away from home and then a loss at home. So I'm quite excited for this game, though. It's got a good championship feel to it, this game, and two teams who could definitely be up there. But I feel like at the same time, their seasons, I think a lot of people have divided opinions on both these teams.
Yeah, I think this game's suited more to Millwall than Norwich. I think Norwich are going to be confident. I think they're going to be aware of that Millwall, and Gary Wright's going to set up quite defensively again and try and hit one on the counter, exactly how they did it with Middlesbrough on the first game of the season. So I think on that basis, I'm going to go with 2-0 Millwall win. I think they're going to smash and grab it, and they're going to hit them on their counter a couple of times. But yeah, I can see Millwall getting maximum points on Sunday.
Yeah, 1-1 for me in this game. I feel like it's going to be quite a tight contest. I think that Norwich might take the lead and Millwall might equalise late. I think, like you say, this game is suited to Millwall, the way they play. And obviously, they got a fantastic win on the opening day at Middlesbrough as well. So I'm going to go 1-1 in this game. I feel like a point won't be a bad result for both teams. But yeah, I'm going to go an edgy 1-1 draw. But I feel like Norwich, again, if they want to be up there again, their home form's going to be vital. But think of your Millwall, you don't want them back-to-back losses so early in the season, especially if you want to be up there in the playoff area. But that's it for our predictions, Jordan, this week. And another good weekend of football ahead, hopefully. No doubt there's going to be some shocking results that we didn't expect, but that's the championship for you, isn't it, I guess?
Yeah, absolutely. I can see it again. Obviously, that's why it's so exciting. It's just I mean, the Premier League, you can kind of predict the results. Obviously, not everyone, because you'd be a millionaire. But like in terms of the Championship, you're not surprised by any result in the Championship, are you?
No, absolutely not. But yes, that's a wrap on this episode, Jordan. Thank you very much for joining me, and we will see you all soon.
Yeah, perfect. See you later, Sam. Take it easy. So yeah.